Bill.
Oh, go first this time. Ryan, you asked or alluded to this in the radio show, but the weather is supposed to be very, very windy, possible rain. How will that affect the game plan? And does that put more importance on the run game this week?
Yeah, we got to do a good job and adjust to the conditions. I always say that the biggest thing is we just have to handle it better than our opponent because they have to deal with it as well. And if it's extreme, then we have to make adjustments. I don't know if it'll be extreme. Certainly the weather doesn't look great. The forecast doesn't look very promising. So we're starting to talk about some of the ideas and thoughts in all three phases. But that's why you plan like this and you have balance in game planning, because in November the weather is unpredictable in the Big Ten.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Next up, Tim May, and then Austin Ward on deck. Tim.
Thank you very much, Gary. Ryan, after Ohio State beat Penn State at Penn State in 2014, Joey Bosa said there was a palpable change to that team. It was like they really became a team that night. They fought adversity, won in 2 overtimes, etc. You guys were behind in the second half in that game the other day, and it had the explosion in the fourth quarter. Do you feel something a little bit different about this team? Not that it takes you anywhere except from a feel-good standpoint, but do you feel anything different about this team than you did a week ago after passing that test?
I think we feel a sense of, that was a good road win that we had identified early on that we knew it was going to be a challenge. We don't really look at it like that this time of year. We focus on each opponent as they come, but during the bye week and, during preseason camp, we look at the schedule and we talk through what it's going to look like to go reach our goals. And we knew that was going to be a hard game to go on the road. We talked about what it usually entails. We talked a little bit about the history of the game, what's gone on during that game. And, for us to win the way we did after talking about it in the offseason and the prep that went into it, there's a sense of accomplishment there. But, we haven't reached our goals. We haven't even checked one off yet. So, the focus has been on what practice was going to be like this week. Because you got to be consistent, you got to keep coming because it's about competitive stamina. And going into Northwestern, we've got to continue to get better than we did the week before. And the two things we've been focused on is energy and execution. And we saw that in these last 2 days of practice. So we got to go put another one together here.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
All right. Next up is Austin Ward with Dan Hope on deck. Austin.
Ryan, it seems kind of hard to believe that you could get into November and have never had a full strength group of cornerbacks or full strength secondary. Maybe if you get Cam back on Saturday, you could have that heading into November. How frustrating has it been to manage that throughout the previous 2 months? Or how exciting is it maybe that you could have that when it matters more in the weeks ahead?
Well, I look across, college football and there are injuries across the country. There's nothing more frustrating than having to deal with injuries as a coach. But it's unfortunately part of the game. And, we have the best sports medicine department here, and our trainers and doctors are excellent. Our sports science and what we do to prevent injuries is excellent, but it's the game. And it's hard. Is it frustrating? Sure, it's frustrating. But that's why we build depth. And I think that a lot of guys have played this year, and guys have had to step up. And hopefully, like you said, that gives us a boost here in November as we work towards full strength.
All right. Next up is Dan Hope with Joey Kaufman on deck. Dan.
Ryan, you talked about Mason Arnold on the radio show. Are you expecting him to be the long snapper for the rest of a year, or is there still a chance you guys could get Bradley back?
Expectation is for him to be the long snapper. Max LaMonaco will also travel this week, and we'll see how both of those guys do. But the expectation is, for those guys to be the long snappers this year for the rest of the way.
Joey Kaufman's up with Jared Smalley on deck. Joey.
Ryan, as far as the rainy weather goes for this weekend, have you done anything in practice, like to drill that, or anything you can do, wet ball drills or anything like that?
Yep. So, in terms of the wind, we practice in the wind. It's been very windy the last few weeks here. We've had some some really windy days. And we played the game up in East Lansing, and it was right about 22 mile an hour winds at times. This one's calling for more than that, so we'll have to adjust. But we practice in that weather. This week, in terms of the water, we do have wet ball drills where we squirt water on the ball before the snap, just to get that feel for it. If you do it too much, the ball starts to get heavy and can affect the quarterback's throwing motion. We don't want to do that, but we do mix it in there, and and then we also practice in the elements so that when days like this come up, that we're able to handle it.
Jared Smalley up with Bill Landis on deck. Jared.
Hi, Ryan. In talking to Paris and Dewan last night in particular, they sounded very prideful about wanting to reestablish themselves as a dominant run team. And they sort of alluded to the work that's been done this week specifically to get themselves back to that point. Can you just guide us a little bit on the commitment that you're seeing out of them to becoming more dominant up front and getting back to running the ball the way that you want?
Yeah, no, their approach this week has been good. I think they've had a little bit of an edge to them. And that really hasn't changed, though. I've been very impressed with the way they've been practicing. But there has been an edge to them this week, which is great, coming off a win like that. And what does it come down to? Again, it comes down to energy and execution, having the energy to go out there and practice really hard, going out there and executing the plays at a high level. It takes all 5 guys and then some to execute in the run game. And then obviously the running back has to make his read. So a lot that comes with it, but I think it's not only in the run game, but it's also in the pass game. I thought the protection work has been solid this week as well. And that's all you can do is just get back to work and keep pushing.
We'll go Bill Landis with Nathan Baird on deck. Bill.
Hey, Ryan, the way that CJ and Marvin were able to kind of sight adjust some of those completions they had against Penn State, is that all on them? How much communication is there from the coaching staff when you're trying to see that stuff? And how much does that speak to the trust between the two of them that they were able to do that?
I thought it was unbelievable execution in that game. We were trying to see if we get the ball on the perimeter against some of those zero looks where they had an extra guy coming on the blitzes on third down and try to get the ball to the perimeter on some of those plays. Didn't quite go. And so then plan B was, like you said, some of those slants that have to adjust based on the coverage. And the way that those guys did that was excellent, especially in that moment to do that and to make those plays. It was very, very well done. We work on things like that, during the whole off season. But you never know when quite you're gonna need it when someone's showing zero pressure on third down like that. And job well done by those guys.
Nathan Baird up with Spencer Holbrook on deck. Nathan.
Ryan, I know that sometimes when guys are thinking about being head coaches someday, they start putting together kind of a wish list of guys that they've worked with that they want to have on staff someday. Was Justin Fry somebody who, from your time earlier together, would have been on that list for you? And if so, what was it about your interactions in those years that made you think of him that way?
Yeah, worked with Justin early on and saw him first off as a person and who he is in terms of his ability to relate to people and players and his family. He's a great man. Played the position at Indiana, played in the Big Ten, and was very good. His dad was a high school coach, so had coaching in his blood. But then it was just the understanding of the run game and how it all fits, and his intelligence, ability to teach. And then when he was at UCLA, he was in a coordinator position where it wasn't just about the front; it was the entire picture. And I think anytime you have somebody like that who can see the entire picture, it brings a lot of value.
All right, and then questions 9 and 10 will come from Spencer Holbrook and Clay Hall. Spencer.
Ryan, a lot of people found out who JT was on Saturday, probably found out how to pronounce his name too. But for him to have a game like that and now be on the map like he is, do you have any conversations with him, or is he enough of a pro to understand, the expectation won't be 2 interceptions every game, but also he's going to start to gain more recognition as he goes.
Yeah, and like you said, I think he deserves it. He's been playing this way for a few weeks now. Just didn't quite maybe have the number of plays based on the way the games turned out, or just the way that the plays shook out. I mean, he was close on a lot of them. And so, you know, like you said, guys are going to know where he is now, but I think that's why, you know, you want to have balance in your D line room. You know, if they're going to slide one way, then they got to deal with, you know, some other guys on the inside, or maybe, you know, Zach Harrison and Jack Sawyer on the other side. So that's why you want balance across the board in the D line room. But certainly he did open up a lot of eyes on Saturday.
All right, and we'll finish up with Clay Hall. Go ahead, Clay.
Hey, Ryan, given your prep for the game, it sounds like you wouldn't necessarily alter your game plan because of weather. And do you have enough running backs in case you have to be a mutter on Saturday?
Yep, just went over the travel list and feel like we'll have enough running backs. But again, you know, it just,
I think we might have lost him.
Clay's question broke the internet.
Yeah. Clay, why don't you just finish his question there?